In the world of the NFL, there are some teams who definitely have it better than others. At the top, you have the big boys, with their legions of fans. Teams like the Cowboys, Patriots, Chiefs, and Bears. Then you have smaller teams, like the Seahawks, Lions, and Vikings. Then you have the small market teams that still have a dedicated fan base, like the Bengals, Bills, and the Colts. And at the very bottom, you have the teams that no one seems to give a shit about. The teams that you forget even exist sometimes. The red-headed stepchildren of the NFL. It's here where you find today's protagonists. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers. Both of these teams have been shit for most of their existence. The Chargers, while they were dominant in the AFL, going to the title game 5 times in 6 years and winning in 63, would immediately crater as soon as they joined the NFL, and have been largely irrelevant since. Sure, there was the team of the early 80s, the late 2000s squad, and the time they went to the Super Bowl in 94, but that's about it. They're just about dead even, with 483 wins and 489 losses. But as of late, they've been on hard times, only making the playoffs 3 times since 2010. And of course, there's the elephant in the room, Dean Spanos, among the litany of the worst owners in football, who uprooted the team and pissed off their entire fan base after 50 years in San Diego, to have them play in a soccer stadium for a couple years, and then be second fiddle to the Rams. Somehow, the Jags have it even worse. They've never even been to a Super Bowl, going 0-3 in the AFC Championship. Since 2008, they've made the playoffs only twice, and compared to the legacy of the Dolphins, and the Bucs, who have won 2 Super Bowls this side of the millennium, and the Jags are the forgotten baby brother of Florida football. They've had to deal with Urban Meyer, who was literally kicking his players in practice. And they spent the last decade being the prime candidate for relocation to London of all places. Hey, at least they're getting a new stadium, even if it costs $1 bajillion. But regardless, both teams have had it rough as of late, as the Chargers have been riding the 500 line since the turn of the decade, and the Jags only won 4 games in their last 2 years. But in 2022, fate would turn around for both these teams, as they would emerge as playoff contenders. The Chargers, led by Justin Herbert and Pro Bowlers Derwin James and Khalil Mack, as well as Joey Bosa and Austin Eckler, would do their best to assert themselves as contenders in the same division as the Chiefs. After going 4-2 to start the year, they would lose 4 of their next 6 to drop to 6-6 by week 14. However, they would rebound with 4 straight wins, including close contests against the Dolphins and Titans, and big wins against the Colts and Rams to earn their first playoff berth since 2018. They would finish at 10-7, earning the first wildcard spot, and would have to go on the road to face their opponents. Nobody expected the Jacksonville Jaguars to do anything, but they were hoping to turn it around with their shiny new quarterback Trevor Lawrence entering his 2nd season, and their other first-rounder Travis.
How everyone said down there in South Louisiana, it's Travis Achan, like Achane, Travis Achan.
Oh.
And so that's how they kind of said it back at home. But I came here, Travis Etienne. I feel like that's just gonna. I feel like that's the correct way to say it. But everyone put that French, that Cajun lingo on in Achan.
So you dumbed it down for us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Etienne would make his debut this year, with new coach Doug Peterson hoping to remedy the damage from the year before. The Jags were active in free agency, signing Christian Kirk, Evan Engram, and Zay Jones, among others. However, they would have a rough start, going 3-7 in their first 10 games. Funnily enough, one of those wins did come against the Chargers in Week 3 as they won 38-10. Entering Week 12, the Jags were 4 games out of the division title, but in a surprising twist of fate, they would turn it around, starting with a huge win against the Ravens. Then in Week 14, they would overcome the Titans on the road, and were suddenly only 2 games back. In Week 15, they would face the Cowboys, and after going down 21-7 after the first half, they would rebound with 27 points to force overtime, where Rayshon Jenkins would intercept Dak Prescott and run it in for the win. Following back-to-back wins against the Jets and Texans, and suddenly they were a 500 team. Meanwhile, the Titans were absolutely imploding, losing 6 in a row and surrendering the division lead. The two teams would face off in Week 18 for the division crown, where the game remained close heading into the fourth, with the Titans up 16-13. However, Josh Allen would prove why he's the superior Josh Allen, and scoop up a fumble to put the Jags in front with only 3 minutes left, where they would hold on for the win. And so, for the first time since 2017, where they surprised everyone with a run to the AFC Championship, the Jags were back in the playoffs, and also became the first team to get there after starting 4-8 since, guess who? The 2008 Chargers. It was a matchup of unlikely circumstances. The Chargers looking to establish themselves as contenders after a couple years of build-up, versus the Jaguars coming out of nowhere to get themselves a home playoff game. These two teams have endured a ton of shit over their existence, and tonight they would collide in one fateful football game. And thus, the stage was set. Jacksonville, January 14th, 2023. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers would face off as the night game after a rather boring matchup that saw San Francisco defeat Seattle. ESPN had the Jags as slight favorites, though LA was also favored by others going in, as their defense was seen as the key factor to stopping the Jags' offense. As the sun set, was either team truly ready for the insanity that was about to occur? Were the fans? Was anybody? On the second play from scrimmage, Lawrence would be picked off. And it took just one play for Herbert to find Eckler in the end zone to put the Chargers in front, not even a minute into the game. Not a great start for the Jacksonville faithful, but it's literally been 1 minute, and there's still 59 to go. And sure enough, Trevor would get the team going on his second try, getting them into LA territory, slowly but surely. Well, until...
4th and 7. Here comes extra pressure, but the pass is intercepted at the 26-yard line. It's Asante Samuel.
Alright, Trevor. That's 2 picks in 5 minutes. Surely you won't throw another one, right? After giving up 2 third downs, the Chargers would get up to the 4-yard line before the defense would finally stop them. However, Cameron Dicker the kicker would chip in an easy 22-yarder to put LA up 10-0. The Jags, already down 10 in 10 minutes, needed to find something to push back, but the offense would gain a whopping 1 yard in their next drive. Luckily, the Chargers would also have rough luck, as they would finally be shut down on their next drive. And so, pinned down at the 14-yard line, Trevor Lawrence took the field and was ready to show these men what's business.
Lawrence throws, and again it's intercepted. And that's Asante Samuel.
First rounder, by the way. This guy was literally a #1 pick, and he's thrown 3 interceptions in the first quarter. For fuck's sake, Trevor, it's like you got the Chargers D on your fantasy team. There's no way you throw another one, right? Well, with the short field, the Bolts made it trivial, with Austin Eckler handling it himself for the score. Before the first quarter was even over, the Chargers were already up 17-0. And the pain was only just beginning for the poor Jacksonville faithful, as on their next try, Lawrence would be sacked, and they would go 4 and out yet again. Man, it's not like I was expecting much from these Jaguars after a merely okay season, but this is worse than even I thought. Like clockwork, Herbert and the Chargers would march down the field once again, as the Jags D had 2 chances to stop them on 3rd down, only to blow it both times, giving up huge gains. A 6-minute drive was capped off by a pass to Gerald Everett to bump the lead to 24-0. Man, it might be time to start calling the morgue. We got a severe whooping brewing in Jacksonville. But wait! Jamal Agnew is here to give this team a shot to the heart with a huge kick return, getting all the way to midfield. Surely this has to give the Jags some momentum. Please give these poor fans something to cheer for. Anything at all. $70,000 people filed into Everbank Stadium that night, and so far they've watched their team put together 1 drive worth a damn, where they've gone 4 and out twice, and their star quarterback has thrown 4 picks in 1 half of football. If this isn't the most pitiful postseason performance of franchise history, I don't know what is. Welcome to the NFL playoffs, Trevor. Maybe you can at least enjoy it for a little longer before you get benched. At least the defense was finally able to stop the Bolts from getting anywhere. But on the ensuing punt, Claybrooks would muff it, and, of course, the Chargers would recover it at the 6-yard line, where the Jaguars D, after trying their hardest all game, would miraculously put up a goal line stand, as they would use the last of their strength to keep the Chargers out of the end zone. No matter, as Dicker the kicker would still knock in an easy chip shot to make it 27-0. This is just unfathomably awful for the Jags, as Trevor got to join Gary Danielson and Craig Morton as the only quarterbacks to throw 4 picks in the first half of a playoff game in NFL history. He's only thrown 77 yards and is 10 for 24 in passes. He's getting booed by his own fans. As for the Chargers, man, things have never been better. It's about time these guys break through and show the NFL world what's business. Sure, they got stopped on that try, and they had to settle for 3, but right now it doesn't really mean anything. I mean, look at this. It's been nothing but a steady climb for LA, and that field goal only dropped them from 98.5% to 97.8%. Oh, what a game changer! This baby is fucking over. At this point, maybe we can start talking about how this can become one of the worst blowouts in playoff history. I don't think this is beating the worst one ever, which, ironically enough, came from the Jags beating the Dolphins 62-7 in Dan Marino's match from hell. But perhaps they can hit the 40-point mark by the end of this, which would put them in at least the top 10. Kinda crazy that this can even happen, but come on. These Jags only barely made it in anyways. This was kinda bound to happen. But oh look, at least we can give them some pity, as with mere seconds in the half, Lawrence was finally able to get his team going, as they would get on the board with their first touchdown of the game. No matter, that only dropped the win percent from 97 to 94.7. Not a complete 100% blowout, but I mean, it's close enough. As long as the Chargers don't completely and utterly collapse, this game is pretty much over.
Those 5 losses in a row, all one-score games, had opportunities to win it. And even after that 5th one, it's like never wavered, never lost belief. Coach didn't lose belief in us. And that's how we dug our way out of it. And same thing we did tonight. That's why I said it kind of epitomizes our season. You know, you're never out of it.
As the Chargers and the Jaguars took the field to begin the second half, it didn't seem at first like anything different was amiss. After all, LA would once again methodically move down the field, as Everett would once again propel them with a big gain, but they would be stopped and forced to punt. That's the 3rd time in their last 4 drives they've gotten nowhere. At least the Jags defense has come out to play. But it's up to the offense to pick up the slack, as they would commence a 7-minute odyssey down the field. From their own 11, Christian Kirk would get them going on this pass, and then Evan Engram would connect for 7. Michael Davis, cornerback for the Bolts, would go down on this play and would not return, as suddenly a big piece in the Chargers' defense would be sidelined for the rest of the game. Then Trevor would complete 4 passes in a row, bumping up that abysmal completion percentage from before, and it culminated in a 24-yard gain from Engram to get the Jags within striking distance of the goal. 2 plays later, the Chargers looked to get the stop, as Joey Bosa would get a huge sack. However, it would come right back as they were hit with offsides. It would ultimately set up the Jags at the precipice, where Marvin Jones Jr. would haul it in on 3rd down to cut the deficit to 27-14. At least things are getting a little interesting now, as it's only a 2-score game with about 20 minutes left. But the Chargers still have about a 90% chance of winning, so it's going to take a Herculean effort to get the Jags back in it. Of course, Herbert and the Bolts know this, and he enters the ensuing drive with confidence, as deep balls to Everett get the team back inside Jacksonville territory. However, they would once again be stifled, as a negative gain and 2 incompletions had them facing another 4th down. Dicker, who's already made 2 tonight, would line up for the 50-yarder and nail it in to make it 30-14, and compel the Jags to score twice and nail the 2-pointer both times in order to tie. With that field goal, the win percent has jumped back up to 93.8 in favor of the Chargers winning, with about 18 minutes left. Sure, it's a little worrying that this has become a contest at all, but the Bolts still have a good enough cushion to close this one out. Well, just 4 plays later, and the Jags are once again in Chargers territory. And on 1st and 10 from the 39, Trevor is about to give Bolts fans something to worry about.
Lawrence protected well. Going deep, has a man open again. Zay Jones for the touchdown.
What was once a 27-point lead has now shrunk to just 10. And now they can make it a 1-score game with this 2-point try. However, in the most critical play of the game so far, the pass to Jones would fall incomplete, and it would remain a 2-score lead. The Chargers, who have been doing nothing but profusely shitting this entire quarter, have just been handed a giant break. They can still salvage this. They're getting the ball back as this game heads into the 4th, and they still have an 86.6% chance to win. What they need right now is a solid drive from Herbert, and a score to expand their lead. Preferably a touchdown, but really even a field goal will work. They kinda just have to score here. They would get another break, as a sack would be called back due to unnecessary roughness, which would send them up 15 yards. On another third down, Herbert would run it himself for a first. Then, facing 3rd and 4 from the 35, Keenan Allen would keep the drive alive. But they would stall out again, coming up to the 22 on 3rd and 3, where another incompletion would set up 4th down. No matter, they had come this far anyway, and their chances had climbed back up to 94.2%. Sure, a touchdown would have been nice, but at least they can rely on Dicker to nail it in. I mean, he's already made a 50-yarder. This 40-yard try shouldn't be as bad.
40-yard attempt for Cameron Dicker. And this time, no good.
You know, when you're watching a horror movie and the characters have been running around this whole time, and just when they think they're home free, shit just has to get worse. And their face. That realization that they're pretty much screwed. That look of terror and dread is probably what every Chargers fan was feeling in that moment, as Dicker's kick sailed wide left. Sure, the rational part of us would say that they still have a great chance to win. After all, it's still a 10-point lead with a little under 9 minutes left, and they still have a 91.9% chance to win. But I think it became clear at this moment that the air had changed in Everbank Stadium. The demons that haunt these teams were at war with each other on this night. But one has to come out on top, and fittingly, it has to be in the most brutal way possible. Just over 3 minutes of game time, the Chargers got to watch it all crumble, as the Jags would run all over them with little resistance. Trevor Lawrence would complete his second half transformation, becoming the guy that the Jacksonville faithful had hoped him to be, as he was able to get consistent gains all down the field, eventually connecting with Kirk to cut it down to 30-26. Unbelievably, the lead was within reach. But if the Chargers can at least stop this 2-point try, they can still save this, as the Jags would need a touchdown to win instead of just a field goal. Wait, what is Joey Bosa doing? Wait, no, you can't do that! What the fuck, man? The emotions had finally caught up to the Chargers sideline. The true horror of what was happening has fallen on them, and it bit them in the worst possible time. Bosa had claimed that a false start call was not made on the Jaguars' offense. But regardless of whether it actually was true or not, the moment his helmet hit the ground was the backbreaker, as it resulted in unsportsmanlike conduct, meaning the Jags were able to set up the easiest sneak of their lives from the 1-yard line to make it a 2-point game. It's fun looking at this game from a neutral perspective. I couldn't really care less about either of these teams, but seeing the polar opposite in reactions has to be captivating. On the one hand, gold. On the other hand, painful, agonizing failure. For Chargers fans, watching their team blow a 27-point lead in record fashion has to lead to some questioning. How in the hell did this happen? Was it the fact that they had lost multiple key players to injury? Was it the fact that their defense was getting worn down by the Jags' fast pace of play? How they frequently no-huddled during the second half? Maybe we could even look back to the first half, where the Chargers had the ball with about 3 minutes left. They could have just run the clock down, but instead Herbert would throw incomplete, and they would go 3 and out, allowing Jacksonville to get the ball with all their timeouts to kickstart the comeback. Even now, when they have the chance to try and save the ship from sinking, what does this team do? Well, on first down, Herbert gets sacked. Then a measly pass to Eckler gets them 4 yards. Facing 3rd and 13, what do? Throw a short pass? It's like they're trying to fail. Come on, your opposition has all the momentum in the world. And in what might be the last time you get the ball, you go limp. Maybe when the fans watched their team go 4 and out in the most pivotal drive of their season, how many of them knew what would happen next? How many decided to turn it off at this moment, not wanting to witness the final blow? How many decided to stay and endure this pain until the end? And ultimately, who deserves more pity? On the other side, Jaguars fans, the ones that stayed after seeing their team get embarrassed in the first half, have now been treated to perhaps the greatest game in their history. A culmination of their efforts to succeed, and now they're so close to pulling off the improbable. For the first time since this game started, the win percent has fallen so far it's close to the line, as the Chargers dropped from 84.9% to 58%. Jacksonville hasn't had much to be proud of when it comes to football, only a trio of AFC Championship appearances over the past 25 years. But tonight, it can all change. Sure, it's not a Super Bowl. It's not even close. I mean, the winner of this game will probably get crushed by Kansas City next week anyway. But that doesn't matter, because this is something that transcends mere trophies. This is a franchise-defining game, a moment that the people who follow this team, both teams, will remember for many years to come, for good and for bad. It all depends on if the Jags can complete the comeback, and as they get the ball with 3 minutes left, they have all the opportunity to do so. And so, the team gets to work, as Kirk gets them to the 33, and then Lawrence would scramble for 8 to get to the 41. Another pass to Kirk gets them to midfield, and Zay Jones would get them to the 45. From here, it's a 62-yard shot to win the game, but kicker Riley Patterson's longest is only 53, so the team needs to get a little closer. They keep pushing, as Travis Etienne would get them another 4 yards, but it wouldn't be enough to get the first, and an incompletion to Kirk would set up 4th and 1 on the 48. This was it. All the bullshit, all the insanity of the previous 58 minutes of football all came down to one single yard and one single play. 58 yards was the distance from here, still too far, so the Jags had to go for it. For them, this play was the make or break. For all the fans in attendance, they had to come out huge here. For the Chargers, this was their last chance, one final offering to save themselves or be plunged forever into the halls of football infamy. They had a 69.8% chance to win at this moment, and all the mistakes, all the pain from before would be forgiven if they could just get the stop. Travis Etienne, born in Louisiana, Clemson alumni, and 25th overall pick in the 2021 draft, is a pretty good running back. He had won the ACC Player of the Year twice in college, and was part of the national championship Clemson team in 2018. But on this night, at this moment, he would put the city of Jacksonville on his back as the ball was placed in his hands with the season on the line. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers have spent most of their existence in turmoil, never being able to get over the hump, never being able to build a respectable reputation for themselves and their fans. Both teams have disgraced their cities in one way or another, with the Jags flirting with moving to London, and the Chargers actually uprooting their core in San Diego to be roommates with the Rams. Out of every team in the NFL, why would you choose to be a fan of either of these teams? Well, maybe it takes a special form of commitment, like cheering for the perennial underdog demands. Sure, they'll let you down, they'll throw all your hopes in the garbage, and you'll question again and again why you even bother watching these guys. It's not like they're gonna win anytime soon. It seems the whole league is against them. Sure enough, tonight's winner would lose in the next round, and both teams would miss the playoffs the next year in disappointing seasons. But that doesn't matter. None of that matters. Because all the wasted years, all the flops and missed potentials, all the seasons in the dumpster, make this moment extra special, where all that effort watching this team is finally rewarded with a game that will never be forgotten. Sure, one team has to win and one has to lose. And yeah, for the Chargers, this game will go down as one of the worst nights in franchise history. But that's the way it is for these fans who have been with this team through good and bad. Sometimes the coin doesn't favor you. They'll be back, and hopefully one day they'll earn the moment their fans have been patiently waiting for a long time now. And for the Jaguars, well, for a team that has spent most of their existence in the cellar, for a team that has been thrown in the trash and forgotten year after year, enjoy this moment, because it's been a long time coming.